Wow, what a panel this is. This is going to be interesting, okay? As I call your names, panelists, please come on stage. So the first person today is Mr. Anish Chowdhary, Business Head for Retail Digital Business, Yes Bank. Mr. Sivakumar, Nandipati, Chief Digital Officer, Fed Bank Financial Services. Mr. Bala, Chendil, EVP and Business Head Digital Acquisitions, Ambit Finvest, Private Limited. Mr. Hitarth, Saini, Head of Marketing, Freo. And Mr. Suraj, Shetty, Head Customer Experience and Digital Initiatives, Ring. Okay, any guesses who's going to be the moderator? Or should we play that eeny, meeny, miny, mo? Okay, never mind. So Mr. Suraj, you are our moderator today. All the best, and it's going to be an interesting panel. And I don't know any of the please, okay? Use your round of applause.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining the panel today. And we were, I think, a bit late in starting the panel, but I don't think the panel would be at all boring for any one of you because it's an interesting topic here that we have today. Embracing digital multiplicity in the modern era for BFSI. And we have some very great speakers today from the BFSI industry. And we have Anish Chowdhary, Business Head, Retail Digital Yes Bank. Sivakumar, Nandipati, Chief Digital Officer, Fed Bank Financial Services, also known as FENA. Bala, Chendil, EVP and Business Head, Digital Acquisition, Ambit, Finvest. And Hitarth, Saini, Head of Marketing, Freo. Myself, Suraj, Shetty. I had Customer Experience and Learning and Development for Ring. To start with the panel, when it comes to digitization, we have seen that a lot of industries have gone through digitization and are still going through digitization. And BFSI has been one of the leading industries that has taken up digitization very well. And not just BFSI, we can see FMCG, agriculture, or any industry for that matter is going through a lot of digitization right now. And initiatives from the government like Aadhaar have given a massive push to this digitization that we are going through. Just for example, I still can remember the days when we took the COVID vaccine. As soon as we come out of the vaccine center, immediately we have a digital certificate for the vaccine ready on mobile phones. So this is something that was not imaginable 10 years before here. And even in some countries, it's still not possible. They are still using, even in foreign countries, they are still using, we read a lot of reports that the developed countries of the world are still relying on physical certificates, whereas India has embraced digital very well. And embracing digital at such a huge scale, with such a huge population is something commendable. So, coming to BFSI, there are a few questions that I would like to ask the panelists on how they are embracing digital in their organizations and what challenges or what opportunities do they see ahead in their space. So, to start with, the first question I would like to ask the panelists is, what according to the panelists are the main challenges faced by CXOs today in implementation of digital initiatives? So to start with, Anish, would you like to share your views on the challenges that are being faced right now in this direction?
So thank you, and very good morning to everybody out here. I think it's interesting that we start the conversation with challenges because I think it also shows that we are quite ahead in our journey as a country in terms of digital adoption and digital. I would put the challenges into three broad areas. I think so many ways to look at it. But in my view, one, I think, is in terms of the pace of obsolescence. There are a lot of new trends coming in. And what is a fad and what is reality is something that needs to be discussed. One. The second is in terms of how you organize your culture, your people. Because eventually, be it implementation of a project or adoption of the products that you bring in, I think that's a common challenge I see across industry. And the third one, of course, is in the way of you deliver it, to make it successful, to make it cost effective. So, primarily from the first part, which is your the trends. Look at it this way. I think when we talk about technology adoption, the biggest challenge I see is how our organizations align. The traditional way of development in any organization has been that there are technology teams, there are business teams, they're all working in different zones, business teams demanding, technology teams delivering. I think a major change is that technology is not a service provider, but business and technology is collaborators. The moment you take that approach, you don't have the traditional way there's a business analyst sitting in between, somebody making big waterfalls. I think all of us in the audience would have heard about these BRDs and all these documents. Hand on heart, how many of you have actually read a BRD once it has been prepared? And therefore, look at any project. There are three dimensions: cost, scope, and timeline. I don't think in the world there are many projects which meet all the three objectives. And therefore, when you talk about implementation, the biggest challenge comes in is who is really working with technology to design the solutions. So are you having the right specs in place? And are you making it into a waterfall, or are you making it agile? And I think I'm a big believer in agile, because what it does is it allows you to experiment at low cost and at very faster response time for market users. And while most organizations claim they are following agile, I can tell you 90% of them are following some corrupted versions of it. The biggest reason is that the education, awareness and training is missing. So a lot more has to be done, especially in larger organizations where people have still not moved from waterfall approach to agile. The second point I was making was the choice of products. I think the technology, every day there's a buzzword, right? So now we have landed up on metaverse. We have not even consummated on AI, ML, and we have already moved to metaverse, and then we'll be talking about Web 3.2 and so on and so forth. But let's be very practical. What exactly is the problem that we are trying to solve on one hand? You still have 60-70% of the population which has just got some access to mobile technology. And we are still talking about banking correspondent models and all those services. And on the other hand, you have millennials and Gen Zs who are actually very willing to do transactions of BAU stuff. So how to choose projects and how to see the cost of ownership really yield. So I think everything need not be digitalized. Everything doesn't need to have a STP solution. Pick and choose. I think that's the second mantra which I feel is a challenge with banks and financial institutions are figuring out. And third is regulation. Regulation will always chase innovation, and it is important to keep the system healthy. I think our regulator has done a fantastic job of ensuring that there are right checks and balances in a large economy like ours. And it's imperative that with any innovation, there is a provision given in terms of how we do check balances. And I think it's a healthy functional conflict, but I think as org structures, our organizations having enough conversations in a constructive manner. A lot of times it becomes, let's say for example, a risk versus business debate. And I don't think the debate is so binary. It needs conversations, it needs evolution, be it InfoSec, be it in terms of adoption of certain ways of taking customer consent and so on and so forth. I think conversations need to be more. So in a nutshell, I think the biggest challenge now, we have moved away from technology. I think it's more about culture, people and conversations, if I'm somewhere.
Thank you so much, Anish. I think that was very insightful. Bala, I would like to you to add your points to this. As to coming from Ambit, what do you think are the challenges that you have seen in the industry when it comes to digitalization?
I'm associated. Am I audible?
Yes.
I work with lending market. Last 10 years, using digital business. So the largest excitement is digital capabilities, and thanks to the India stack and evolution of new technologies like cloud computing, SaaS, open network, API, we have built, in fact the lending ecosystem has built adequate digital capabilities, for both internal efficiency as well as for customer onboarding. However, for me, the foremost challenge is how do I drive the digital adoption of internal customers who are my employees. For example, we have Salesforce as our sales automation CRM. It's one of the better CRM tool available in the country. Despite of this being a wonderful system and a wonderful sales automation tool which captures and which brings in data governance in the sales cycle, However, the biggest challenge is how do I drive on, how do I ensure 100% of my FOS uses the Salesforce. This still remains a challenge, it still remains, because however, even if we recruit a new age, young FOS on the field, this adoption seems to be a challenge. Second is, in a typical customer onboarding journey, for any digital leader, the delight is how do I ensure the customer pass through the straight through process journey. When I say straight through process, right from logging in a portal or a website till the sale is completed. In lending business, it's disbursal. So today the industry average is 20 to 30% of the customer pass through the straight through journey. Balance 70% either they drop off or they lose interest. So for any digital leader, pushing more customers to adopt the digital base and increasing the current 20-30% trend to maybe 50-60% in the next 2 years will continue to remain.
Shiva, what would be your thoughts in this?
Hi. If there is a challenge or problem, it's always said, give it to him, he will solve it. Happy Engineers Day today. Okay. With that piece, I would want to start on the digital challenges from a different perspectives. While Anish and Bala has covered a lot, the change management or organizational structural challenge, if I have to put it plainly in a right analogy, assume there is a father who has been started at 10,000 per month and earning for his last 25 years and is now making a lakh or 1.5 lakhs a month. There is a son who just passed out of BTech. Okay? React Native, something he has learned some technologies. He is also getting the same salary. He is also making the same impact to the family or maybe slightly more impact to the family from the financial terms, not from the experience terms. Obviously, there will be some structural or discrepancies will be in the family. Exactly the analogy is nothing but there are traditional ways the business or BFSI organization runs and the digital with the accelerated pace has come into the company as a separate department where it is trying to bring a lot of change. So however we solve the family problem, similarly is what we are supposed to solve this challenge even in the company level. Now the second point which Anish has made on the regulatory, I do agree with regulatory. It is not a challenge, it's a slack. It will bring delay to your projects. But the main purpose is when you have an idea or you wanted to do something, you are much excited to do it and you see selectively for a specific set of the audience who gets benefit out of it. But regulatory from the 360 degrees perspective tries to see what are the impacts it causes to the others. So, in a way, you'll have to put, it's a better problem. It's like, regulator is nothing but an ethical hacker for your ideas. You just have to put it in the technological language. So, you'll have your ideas, but they'll be hacked, and if there's any problems, that will be plugged in properly. So, it's a big problem. It's a good problem to face. When you have more and more ideas, you'll have more and more rejections. It's as good as when you are earning more and more salary, you'll pay higher tax, right? Paying higher tax is a good problem. So it's as good as that on the regulatory. Now coming to lot of digitalization happening across and coming to the measure of security, any idea at what frequency in India the businesses are getting ransomware attack? Is it one company in a minute or one company in an hour? Any guesses from the audience? Any random guess?
20%.
It's still less than 11 seconds. 11 seconds is what every company in India is getting a ransomware attack. So obviously there has to be much precautionary measures which has to be taken for whatever the improvements or digital transformations happen. And lastly, the finance. The good analogy I can tell you was, we all have faced this in our life experiences. Suppose we are now wearing a shirt of Excel, but we wanted to become agile and lean and try to wear the shirt. We wanted to become agile and lean. Maybe now you go for the shop, you wanted to buy a shirt size of L. The finance, the finance department doesn't tell, boss, you are Excel. You have to buy Excel. But you have an internal motivation that yes, I will become L. So this is the typical cost kind of debates, you face it with financial department, but yes, once you prove it that you are sticking to your boards, this will be sorted. And one last thing if you consider from a top level management, it has to be top down approach, because it has to run from being agent and being owners, it has to run from CEO perspective. And I would conclude that it should be digital strategy for business, but not digital business strategy implemented via digital technologies. That's the change we should get it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Shiva. I think the comparison between personal, family, generations in the family and the generations in the company was very nice. And also, as you rightly pointed out, I think the security and fraud risk is something important, is a very important component to take care of when we speak of digitalization, because being in a very highly regulated industry like BFSI, and also we have one of the best regulators, Reserve Bank of India, which has played an instrumental role in ensuring that the industry not only grows at a high speed, but at the same time it's insulated from other concerns like fraud, and necessary risk management framework is in place. So coming to Anish, there are companies have gone from physical to digital, and now they are going to digital. So what do you think is the right approach for the BFSI industry, and what should be the way ahead for them? Is it digital or should it be digital?
I don't think it's either or. The economy will have all shapes. We will continue to have physical touch points. We will continue to have digital transformation, and you also need to have a hybrid approach of digital. But I think the bigger conversation that I feel gets lost is what is digital in itself. I see everybody's talking they are digital, but are you talking assisted? Are you talking DIY? What is your customer segment? I think that's very important. Are you solving for your employees? Are you solving for your channel partners? Or are you solving for the end customer who is going to transact digitally? Number one. And therefore, the way you invest in your processes is going to be very different. I think your underlying core systems will be the same. Your digital processes, by and large, how the data flows and how the underwriting, etc., or if the product, if it's a liability product or say an insurance product, how they and that will be different. That will be same. But the moment you get into the UX part of it, and I'm consciously separating UX from UX because it's largely misunderstood. People think UX is all about the look and feel of things, but more than that, how you are placing the entire interaction matters. So, for example, if you are getting into an ATM and your touchscreen needs banging to get you the stuff, that is a problem. At the same time, where do I see my widgets? So, all of that will play a very, very big role. So, I think the question here is that you will continue to evolve and you need to put a stop. But the best way to do is to think DIY, because in my experience, designing DIY is the most difficult thing. Why? Because in financial services, unlike say e-commerce, people are not doing indulgence purchase or they are not doing exploratory purchase. The awareness is, the trust is even lower. So what you have to do is, without the human being, how can you actually make the product very simple? The whole terms and conditions, the explanation, so that a customer can adopt it or take a decision of buying it. I think that's the biggest challenge. Followed by how do you do it with minimal effort? In any system, the physical RM or with a digital process, can you make the customer not think? Let the person focus on why he or she is there, and the process should be very, very invisible, very seamless. I think that's a problem to be solved. Then whether you make a DIY or whether you address a drop, I think it's a second order question. But in a country like India, all three will coexist. In fact, I'll go to the other extreme. The research that we have done, we figure out that for all the BAU transactions, things which are very transactional, very simple, which does not require any complex thinking or unstructured thinking, people are increasingly preferring less amount of human interaction. So those are the things which will go digital or DIY rather. And things which are complex in terms of unstructuredness, in terms of high value, or in terms of solving complex financial decisions, let's say wealth planning, you need a human touch. So both will coexist. And how do you solve for both keeping the customer in mind is a design thinking problem which I think we have just started discovering. And most importantly, even if we talk digital, eventually we are going to come to a situation where we'll be talking about humanizing the digital touch. Because a lot of digital interfaces today have become very, very monotonous. You type something, the bot is also very unhuman. Very, very transactional. I think eventually how to put the human element back to digital so that it's conversational and it understands you and explains things to you in a simple manner rather than it appearing as if you're talking to a machine. I think that is the biggest challenge even if you talk about a DIY or a whole thing, and that's why we are talking about metaverse and all, because we want to make it very human and very, very relational rather than transactional. So that's the way I see it.
That's great. I think the design thinking part that you brought up is actually very important, because as banking and financial services move from tier 1 cities to tier 2 and tier 3 cities, how well we are able to make the customers go through an entire journey on their own, considering especially the language aspect as well. There are different languages in different states and people need to understand that entire journey without any help. So that's a very important aspect, and design plays a pivotal role in that. Shiva, what would be your comments when it comes to physical versus digital in the BFSI industry?
So I'll take it from two tangents, one from the employee tangent and one from the customer tangent to speak on this. From the employee tangent, digital, I would just say it's a cluster of data, IT and business strategy. If you are a person who is master at these three, generally you turn into a digital, you are good fit for digital. So there are sometimes people see you with a red eye, just this person is going to automate and our jobs are at stake. Firstly, you will have to make the other departments reassure on that. Try to solve their problems. So in our company, we have built a lot of modules for these specific departments where they were facing a lot of challenges. Be it legal module or audit module, internal modules you develop and you get the trust of them, and that's how people will empower and promote the digital in the organization. Otherwise, it's always a new enemy to them, and new person or new change is something people are resistant to it. So they have to embrace it and experience it. This is something which I put from the employee tangent, and most importantly from the customer tangent. Between physical and digital, we have one of Petrina, when we are serving a lot of loans, we have gold loans as well. So come whatever may, gold loans cannot be made entirely digital because there is a physical good involved in it. Now, what the best way of doing it and establishing digital is something which we have thought 3 years back, and luckily COVID and all also has come. There's a lot of improvements we can make on that everywhere. So you might have heard the branches in a box or the virtual branches kind of stuff from the branch perspective, where there will be uniform trust established with reviews, ratings, and customers' requirements will be solved by the portals like website and app. There will be new account openings account opening happens to RBI has given not to do the digital account openings. So there are multiple improvements which has happened. The conversations afterwards will happen through communication, which would lighten the branch work, whereas now the branch can cater to many people in the same time and efforts. So it's in fact a better way of merging and marrying the branches and digital. I would call it as a marriage actually. The reason is the digital comes with very soft natured of the qualities like innovativeness, transformation, agile and all, whereas branch comes with a dedication, focus, these kind of efforts. So the mix of these two is a better model, and I would relatively vote for the digital. And one more thing which I wanted to say from the customer's perspective was, earlier if there is any item or any service you have to buy or subscribe for, there is a lot of depth involved for the research. But now, predominantly, most of the people, if you observe, they were taking the decision based on the breadth. Earlier the depth was involved, they were taking the decision on the breadth. I would just give a small example. If you wanted to buy a product at Amazon or something, you would see the respective company's website, you would see the reviews, you would see what are the comments, you would see the specifications. Maybe you would not speak more to the people who have used it, but you would try to find out at multiple digital places what this is being told. So it is important that the breadth has to be enriched, and that's how the digital is the better way to go forward.
Thank you, Shiva. So coming to, we briefly touched upon this topic, Hitarth, about humanizing the digital experience, especially with the rise of bots. We have been using chat bots, email bots, voice bots. So how do you think the banking landscape is changing with the use of these new technologies, and how does customer experience and the user experience get impacted with, and how is it getting enhanced also with these?
Sure. So, before I answer the question, I maybe introduce just a little bit about us. So, we are Freo. We are a neobank, 100% digital. Last question was about physical versus digital, and we have been a digital native company from the start. Anish also brought a very great point that we have to solve for the consumer's experience, and the most difficult thing to do is by helping them solve the DIY platform or DIY format. So that's what we did 7 years back when we launched our app, Ambit app. And now we have multiple apps serving across different segments, different products. Now, because we have seen the whole journey from a consumer lending perspective, where you have to collect a lot of data, you have to take a lot of input from the consumer, and consumers will always give different data points. They'll interpret the question in a different manner. So that was the first challenge that we sought for. Secondly, and we were the first ones in India to launch a chat bot where we were taking the input for a lending application, around 17, 18 different data points in a chat format. It was not easy. But what we realized was, when I asked the user to fill a form for 17 different inputs, a long form, this was very scary for the user. But the same questions being asked in a nice chat format. Hi, how are you? Great, that looks fantastic. Your journey is about to get over. Right? These kind of chat interface, that when we did that, and now it is maybe a BAU. But around then it was a great experience for us also to learn that this is how we are able to optimize the experience for consumers. And this was when bots were not really being mainstream into banking. Today, if we look at it, you have to know, let's say, you want to know your account balance, you can hit a WhatsApp bot via secure API, and they'll let you know your bank balance, they'll let you know what offers are there, they'll let you know what date you have your credit card bill payment is pending, and how much you need to pay as a minimum amount. These are now BAU journeys that have been already set up. Along with that, application of NLPs on a lot of different bots on the website itself, inside the app itself. You go and you just start chatting like you are chatting with a friend. Hey, where is my card? My card is not delivered yet. And the bot will understand that the lingo, the bot will understand the colloquial usage of language that the user is inputting and give an appropriate answer accordingly. Similarly, another application for this, and especially because we come from a lending background, is in the collection side of things. A lot of bankers over here will definitely relate to this point, that collections is something that is a sacrosanct function, and something that definitely has to be done. And different riskier segments, sometimes they require call. You have to remind the consumers that, hey, your amount is pending, you have to pay back on time. They'll pay back, that's not a problem. But if you miss the reminder, then you are putting the business at risk. Now, how do you do that? One solution is that you put an army of callers in a call center, which will obviously give you a big jump on your cost metrics. Right? And another solution is that you implement some of the voice AI solutions. Now, what is a voice AI solution? The AI will actually call the consumer like a normal caller. Consumers, and maybe some of these examples are available on internet. The user will not realize that it's actually a machine that's calling and reminding them that, hey, this is the date when it is due, will you be able to make the payment? And the consumer will say, no sir, there will be some delay for 2 days, I am expecting money to be coming in some time. And the response will also be given to the consumer by the AI in a humanized manner. So this is where things have advanced. But again, as we discussed in the previous question, that this is a small application of technology that is available, the adoption is something where I think the challenge lies, and that's where the responsibility is on all of us to push these technologies to our products.
Thank you very much. I think I would like to ask the audience if any one of you has any questions to any of the panelists. You can ask. You can also just introduce yourself, your name, your company, as and also the particular panelist that you're directing the question to. Any questions from any panelist? You can just raise your hand and we'll provide the mic to you. Okay. So coming back to the panel, I will have 3 rapid fire questions for each of you. I would like you to just answer these questions in 1 to 2 minutes. Number 1, starting with Hitarth, what are the 3 factors that will play a role in success of an organization in the digital space? What do you think are the 3 important factors that will play a role?
Sure. So I think the first is understanding the problem, consumer understanding why you are trying to apply a certain problem. This was also discussed that should everything be digital or not. So the clarity of thought is required before you go into the solutionizing the problem. That's first. Second would be the speed of execution, how you are able to get the products out, how fast you are able to do it. And third would be maybe getting an MVP out fast rather than waiting for a perfect product to be shipped 6 months down the line. An MVP which can quickly give you some learnings and then being a little bit, I know everybody talked about agile, being a little bit adaptive to some responses. So I think these 3 would really help.
Correct, exactly. I would agree on the MVP part. Being from the fintech space, I think we have been doing that a lot to understand user behavior and getting insights on how customers think about a particular feature or a particular service or a new offer that has been given to them. It helps us to understand once we make it live for a particular set of customers, we directly touch base with them to understand how was their experience, did they like the offer or not, and would they recommend other customers for this offer. And accordingly we make changes to this offer. So I think having an MVP at the first place for every new development or every new launches that you want to do is the best practice. It will help bring down the risks and it will also speed up the entire process. Anish, what are the upcoming technologies that you see, new technologies and trends that you see coming in the BFSI industry?
I would pick 3 areas. I think one is embedded finance. The whole concept of connected banking, APIs, and how they are all fintechs, NBFCs, banks coming together. I think that revolution is set to happen between 2022 and 27. Number 2, platformification. I think a lot of traditional way of development has been software as a service. It's going to move to a platform as a service, and even internally, whether it is core banking or your LMS or whether it is your loan operating systems or your CRMs, how do you bring all the APIs together across what we call as a modular microservice and then connect it to a platform? I think this transformation, Tech 2.0, is yet to take place in most of the large organizations. That's happening now. Next 2 to 3 years, we'll see a lot of outcomes coming out of that. And the third piece, I feel the whole India stack. One, we have already seen what has happened with UPI and the consent layer of eKYC, etc. I think the next boom will happen through account aggregators and ONDC, and hopefully OTM. Along with that, this digital health records and the land records being digitalized. That's happening at a very fast clip. The tipping point has not reached, and that's why we don't hear much about it. But there's a lot of work happening on that space. So taken together, in fact, the previous presentation on that space bit, there's a lot of digitalization happening on records. So I think all of that taken together will transform how data gets collected and verified. It will help both in fraud management, underwriting, collections, and of course, get formalizing the data. So I think net these 3 things is going to transform the entire space. Next 5 to 10 years, very, very exciting. And I'm consciously leaving out metaverse and all. Very nice to have things. I often say, let's have curd rice first before we start talking biryani. There's a lot to do.
Yeah, I agree on that. And we hope to see you in the metaverse when it starts. Shiva, coming to Bala, what would be your thoughts on the upcoming technologies and trends in the BFSI space?
See, over the last 10 years, largely the ecosystem has gone. I've witnessed, thanks to India Stack, cloud computing, API, open network, SaaS. To a larger extent, I think the digital capabilities built. What I see, a couple of things which I foresee in the next 10 years will play a key role. One is AI ML on credit decisioning and fraud management. Though everyone has started in a small way, going forward, with all the bureau data which is available, AI ML will play an important role in developing a better credit scoring model and fraud management. Another one, it may not qualify as a technology but as a concept. I foresee what UPI has done for payment business, OCAN will do for lending business. However, it is not as easy as the way UPI has evolved, because for the last 70, 80 years, payment is the primary business of the banks. So there is already a platform which UPI has leveraged and evolved to this extent. With lending, it is not easy so. But however, OCAN, we are all hopeful, and OCAN along with ONDC and embedded finance will shift the balance of power towards the borrowers. We are hopeful OCAN will be the next UPI in lending business.
That's really a good news, something to look out for. Shiva, coming to you, what are your top priorities that you would line up for 2022 and 23 when it comes to increasing your firm's digital footprint?
Firstly, something digital innovation. Well, there are multiple products. As long as you are not first mover, maybe fast follower also helps, but first mover advantage is something you will definitely have. If there is some ideas of our team and our works, that's where we wanted to figure it out and bring some change. That's what on the digital innovation. Second one, second what Bala has said, artificial intelligence and machine learning uses in credit underwriting, or even in the collection allocation, vintage analysis, or even designing these interest scheme rates. There are multiple places they can be used. So that's where is what we wanted to put it out. And most importantly, third one is maybe shocker. There's a research that says that in next a decade or two, the keyboards will be entirely gone. So people will move lot to voice. Like how the typewriters are existed earlier, not there now, that's how the keyboards will become. And most importantly, voice has to be enabled a lot, including multilingual, and that has to fulfill along with the omni-channel communication. These are my three priorities.
Great. I think one of them is my priority as well when it comes to voice. So at Ring, we service 3 lakh plus merchants pan-India who take credit from us, and also their customers take credit from us. And sometimes it can be a kirana store taking a credit of just 100 rupees. The customer is just buying something on credit for 100 rupees. So connecting such customers manually is very expensive. So I think voice technologies are priority for us too. And I think as we move towards Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities, voice will play a pivotal role over there, especially multilingual. And a lot of improvements have happened in voice with respect to voice bots. And I think a lot more has to be done, because voice will be the primary source of getting to the customer. And I would cite an example even of Paytm, the innovation that they did with the sound box. That was really impressive, and it has been taken up by the industry very well, because they have understood the pulse of the customer. The shopkeeper is too busy, he cannot check his mobile, he cannot listen to what the mobile is saying or what the message is saying. He needs a sound box which can just tell him that 500 rupees has been credited. So voice would play an important role when it comes to servicing merchants as well as customers. Thank you very much, Shiva. Any questions from the audience? I would like to take it. We just have 1 or 2 minutes left. Thank you. So I would like to thank all of the panelists. We had an excellent discussion, and I think all of us, including me, had, and in fact the audience too, had a lot of great insights to take from each one of the panelists. And thank you Anish, thank you Bala, thank you Shiva, thank you Hitarth for joining us for the discussion, and thank you very much for the audience, and also for Krypton Group for organizing this panel discussion. Thank you.